Boom shakalaka!
Welcome to Three the Hard Way Sports Podcast from three guys who talked sports together over lunch for over 10 years.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Three the Hard Way Sports Podcast. I'm Bryan Galloway here with, from Rumson, New Jersey, Alex Shanley. How are you, Alex?
I'm doing great. Looking forward to basketball playoffs, hockey playoffs, baseball going. A lot of sports going, so we got a lot to talk about tonight.
Definitely. And from parts unknown, we have Michael Pipersik. How are you, Mike?
Excited and ready to talk NBA. I'm even wearing a Celtics shirt right now in anticipation of them tipping it off Sunday.
Boy.
Come on, Alex, you got the 2 seed. You should be excited. Don't be
I
hating.
am.
So here, guys, you're jumping way ahead of it. There's something way more important that we have to talk about in the sports world, and I know you're dying to talk about it. So, what do you guys? What were your guys feeling? I know you were very upset when you heard the news about O.J. Simpson dying. What do you? So what was your? Now again, here you got to think about this. When we were kids, like, he was a great football player, well above his time. Like the first running back to get 2,000 yards. He was larger than life, and then he was he was an actor. He was in, I think Earthquake and Sense Around and the Towering Inferno, and he was
Gun.
Naked Gun.
That
was his peak.
So he was in all those movies, and he was just like this amazing star, and then the world happened, and him and Al Cowlings driving in the white Bronco during the playoff, the Knicks playoff run back in the day there, the last chance the Knicks had to win a championship, and the same year also that I think the Rangers did win the championship.
Yeah.
It was a crazy year. That was a crazy year. So it's the thing about it is, the reason why I brought this up is, and I do want to hear your point of view. The last time the Knicks and Rangers were really good at the same time was that time, and then all of a sudden, OJ dies in the same year. There's something about that. Come on now.
The Rangers are looking good.
What is that coincidence? Okay. So Alex, what's your thoughts on OJ?
None. I really have none. I mean,
None?
I just think it's terrible what happened, and nobody won. And, I know he, I guess, instructed his lawyer that no money goes to the families, the Goldman family and then Nicole's family, which is their kids. So I don't understand that, but I guess it would just be the Goldman family. I don't know. It's just, it was a bad tragedy and terrible tragedy. And I don't know, nobody won in that whole mess. And his life wasn't the same after, although I hear he has like millions and millions of dollars, which I don't get, but I don't know.
I know. Weren't you thinking of? I think, was it you who thought you were thinking maybe before you decided on Jack? You were thinking of OJ for Jack, or was that Mike? Mike, were you thinking of that for Quinn? I remember one of you guys were thinking of OJ. I remember who. I don't remember.
Hardly.
No, hardly. Okay. Did they know that you guys thought about their naming themselves OJ? You make sure it's time to tell them.
I was going to do that, but not for O.J. Simpson, just because I really like orange juice. I was going to name OJ.
Orange juice. That singer, Orange Juice
maybe.
Jones. I saw you walking in the rain. I saw you walking in the rain. I thought about naming Taylor OJ, but Donna said no to that one. So. It always cracks me up when I see another athlete named OJ, like OJ Anderson, or like
OJ McDuffie.
They probably were like afterwards, like, "Oh, mom and dad, what did you do?"
Yeah.
So what was the O? What did the O stand for in OJ Simpson?
Orenthal.
Yeah, Orenthal. There you go. Okay.
Isn't
Good job. Okay, so I just think it's a very weird coincidence that the last time the two local New York.
Well, what do you think, Pips?
I echo what Fred Goldman said. It is no great loss to the world. It was a real tragedy, what happened, and I think most reasonable people think that he did it, and it was just awful. And I can't imagine, what those families went through. And then when OJ died, the executor of the estate kind of came out firing, saying like he's going to ensure that the Goldmans and the Browns get nothing, not one penny. I think he backtracked off of that. So hopefully they get their just due, because I think they were owed something like $33 million from the civil lawsuit and got virtually nothing. I mean, not that.
I think 138 million.
What's that?
I think it was 138 million.
I thought it was like 33. That's nuts.
We got to look that up. I thought it was 138, but they thought they were going to get 33 in the, which is like, wait, how did he have, $30 million that he wasn't able to give them?
That entire OJ saga was captivating, right? Everybody watched that trial. It was incredible because he was still revered when it happened, and a lot of people were convinced he was innocent, and just the brutality of how Nicole Brown and Ron Goldman were killed. Like when you read the stories, and I know there's like this really long ESPN, like 30 for 30, like 6 parts, which I've never seen that. I remember following the trial, but I want to catch up on that because it is a fascinating case, right? There was like the glove that didn't fit, right? Johnny Cochran's famous line, and the dream team of attorneys, and if you've got enough money, you can get away with anything, it seems, right?
Yeah.
Wild.
Yeah, this says OJ still owed Goldman family over $100 million.
Man.
And it says Simpson paid the family of Ron Goldman just a small fraction of the $33.5 million wrongful death judgment, which he paid him like $138,000 or something like that. But I just don't know how they protected all that money for so long. I don't know. I hate celebrity crap. So I looked at him more like a person, not a celebrity, and I don't know.
Yeah, same. Yeah.
Done.
Remember the celebrations when he was acquitted?
Yeah, well, there's a population of people that felt like it was a victory, so.
Bryan was one of those people. He was big in the OJ camp.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, OJ. I mean, I have his rookie card. I'm just trying to. It lost so much value when after he. So I was very upset about that. I was like, oh no.
If only you sold it in 1993.
Yeah, I know. I should.
So here's what I found. So they were owed $33 million, but with interest, it's over $100 million now.
Good Lord!
Because it's been 27 years, compounding interest.
A 19-year-old's credit card. You don't pay the minimum, it just keeps getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
God.
Anyway.
Okay, well, that's enough. So, yeah, I mean, I just think it's weird. And it's, I was just like, wow, how could it be that the last time that the Knicks were this good and the Rangers were this good at the same year?
Yep.
And it was O.J. Simpson. And guess what? He just died. So, anyway.
Hey, I have a quick random question, because remember how shocked everyone was when OJ was charged with this crime. Which athlete, if they were charged with that kind of a murder, would you be most shocked about?
Well, I don't know. Yeah,
Eli Manning.
No. Well, yeah.
The most boring murder ever.
No, yeah, OJ, but OJ wasn't. I don't think OJ gave anybody a thought like that. Yeah, that's a good one. No, Peyton Manning, right? No one. I don't think anybody thought. They thought more. I think most people thought he was more of a joke because he was a really bad actor.
Well, he did those Hertz commercials. He was pretty good in those.
Well, that's another interesting thing because the day he died I had to make a plane. And I was running because of the fact there was so much traffic on I-4. Um, I was
Were you
stuck in a
jumping over
yeah,
seats and stuff?
no, but I was going through security. I was starting to go through security, and my flight was going to leave in 45 minutes. Luckily, I do that eye scan stuff clear,
Yeah.
and the lady walked me right up to the gate and got me through. Otherwise, I would never have made my flight. But I was actually, semi jogging, through the Orlando airport trying to get to
Jeez.
my plane. I was the second to last person on the plane. I was like, yeah, that never
With
happens to me. But I was,
yeah, with your history of travel, I'm surprised you made that plane.
yeah, I know. Do you believe it? Yes, I know. I made it though. Okay, so so we're going to talk NBA playoffs. So the play, as of recording time, the play-in games have already started. Some of them, and some of them are already over. So like the Warriors season is over. Um, so I don't even want to talk about them. We could talk about them at another time. I'm still annoyed about how terribly they played. But let's let's move on to what do we think about the NBA playoffs? Who wants to go first? What do you guys, what are your feelings on which teams are going to come close to winning? Do you even have any thought about who's going to win? Um, I don't know if all the matchups are set yet, but a lot of them are.
Yeah,
Just
I mean,
98 seats pending. Yep.
right, right. So right now, the Thunder and the Celtics don't know who they're going to play.
Correct.
I don't think it's going to matter. Um, but because the Thunder could play who, the Kings or the Pelicans, and the Pelicans don't have Zion anymore, right?
They do not have a Zion, but they are 5-0 against the Kings this year, which is
Yeah,
shocking. Two
yeah,
wins of like plus 30 points, which is amazing to me that they blew out the
right.
Kings twice and beat them 5 times.
So, you know, that's that. And then the Bulls and the Heat don't have Jimmy Butler because he got hurt, sprained MCL. So the Bulls and the Heat will play to see who plays the Celtics. But I mean, Mike, I don't see any four of those four teams beating the number one seeds. I don't think.
The one wild card there is I think that if the Kings could beat the Pelicans tomorrow, which would be something considering they're 0-5 against them this year. They
Yeah.
went 2-2 against the Thunder, and this is a big spot for the Thunder. Such a young team. I think we all like them heading into the season, but I
And the
think
Kings as well, right? They came off a
yeah,
great year last year. Yeah.
yeah. So I think they've got some experience there. So if the Kings can beat the Pelicans, I don't think
I'll
they'll
give you
be
that. Yeah.
intimidated against the Thunder, and they've got a little more experience in these situations.
Right.
So that I think that could be a sneaky good series if the Kings play the Thunder in the East. I don't think the Bulls would have a chance against the Celtics. The Heat are the Heat; they terrify me no matter what. Butler's out, but
But yeah.
it's always next man up for that team. So
Yeah, but you're not replacing Jimmy Butler.
no,
No,
His
not
they're
at all.
done. They're
leadership, his
done. They're
points.
done. It's
Yeah,
not
they're
even worth.
done.
Yeah, it's not even
Yeah.
worth talking about that. I mean that they're done.
Yeah.
Let's put the tombstone up because they're not going to do anything.
Oh no, Brian, don't say that.
Yeah, they're not. They're not. I mean,
Heat
Jimmy
culture,
Butler.
man.
Yeah,
It,
Jimmy
it
Butler. Yeah, Jimmy Butler's too good. He's too big about what they do. And second of all, Tyler Hero didn't play last year in the playoffs, and they did so well without him. Now he is back, but he's also one of the reasons why I think they're not as good as they were last year because he plays zero defense, and that's a tough thing for that team. So they're a defensive minded team. They win by their defense. So I think they're done.
OKC, the lineup, it amazes me that they're the number one seed in the West with SGA, right? Josh Giddey,
Hmm.
Dort, Jalen Williams, and Chet Holmgren. You know,
They play as a team, though.
right. But just think about that, right? NBA is built around stars, right? Get 2 stars, get 3 stars if you can. I mean, they have up and coming stars. Chet Holmgren could be a star. I mean, SGA's getting there, but that's it. And
Jalen Williams, most improved
Yeah,
player this year. What a
Jalen
season
Williams.
he's
yeah,
had.
agreed. Most improved
Jalen
player.
Williams is
You know
really
what that
good.
means? He wasn't very good last year, so he's not a star.
He was a rookie.
Dort, Dort is a very interesting guy because he's a he's been good for a couple years, but on the cusp. this year he's really put it together. I don't know. He's pretty impressive too. I like Dort.
Yeah.
He's a good
No,
So
player.
it's
they're
just an interesting team.
yeah, they're a tough team. They're tough. Now, do they have playoff acumen? No, they don't.
No.
So I kind of worry, but it's a good experience for them. I don't see them. I don't see them winning.
What do you guys think of Lakers Nuggets in the first round there? Is it
I
just
think
a
I think the
walkover?
Lakers could get a game off of them. I
Yeah.
think it was big for the Lakers to get Gabe Vincent back, and he played
Yeah, he plays
really
so well the other
well
night. Yeah,
against the
Yeah.
Pelicans. Like he really slowed down CJ McCollum. I don't think he could do the same against Jamal Murray. But
Yeah.
Jamal Murray sometimes tends to get hurt. So,
Yeah.
but I think the Nuggets have won 9 out of 11 against the Lakers. They have that championship pedigree now. I think Jokic generally will outplay Anthony Davis, but Anthony Davis has been playing well. The I think the Nuggets still take this in five, but I feel like the games will be close. The Lakers were in all three of the games that they lost to the Nuggets this year. I think the Lakers had a lead in the fourth quarter of all those games. I'm just such a Laker hater.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
D'Angelo, D'Angelo Russell is going to self destruct like he always does. I
Yeah,
just
he's the
can't.
wild card for them, right?
Yeah,
If he
Yeah.
can
like
play.
because I'm not a big fan of Murray either. I think people tend to think that Murray is on a cusp of being a star, but I just every opportunity he's had, he really hasn't done it. He's had a couple good runs, but he's never put it all together, and he's always got some kind of injury. And um, I don't know. But thing about the Nuggets is Jokic makes everybody better.
Mhm.
That's the thing about him that people don't tend to. There's a lot of people that don't like him. They say, "Oh, he pads his stats." No, he doesn't. Actually, if anything, he pads his teammates' stats because he
Mhm.
makes all of his teammates better. Yeah, I know. That's why when we talk about MVP, if he doesn't win, I'd be surprised because that team would be nothing without him.
Yeah.
And you really think about that. They have a good bench. They're strong. They have a good coach. They should, in all intents and purposes, they should at least, get to the Final Four. Who knows what's going to happen at this point? The NBA is there's so much parity in the NBA right now. Anybody could win at any time, which is cool, which is great.
What's your favorite Western Conference matchup for the first round?
Whew.
Like, which one are you like? This is going to be the best series.
I think the Clippers and the Mavericks. I'm
It
excited about
is
that
is
series.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good one. I like that one. The
Suns
Suns,
Timberwolves could
the
be
Suns,
good.
yeah, the Suns, because again, okay, so I'll give you my quick Suns. I was thinking about the Suns. There's always Durant, right? So you just
Mhm.
don't know. Durant to me could take over, but I don't think Booker. Booker is another guy who, Booker is so great. He's not. Something always he always finds a way to self destruct every big game. I heard somebody look at his big game stats. They're terrible in big games. So I don't know
You
about
sure
Booker.
those weren't Jason Tatum's?
No, no. Tatum's had some good games. So I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
Not
But
big games. Not
but
big games.
yeah, but Booker, I'm not a Booker. I just don't know. But I mean, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. That's a wild series. That's going to be. But then you have Carl Anthony Towns, where I have a feeling that team is better without him.
Hmm.
I really feel that way. And he's another one. They've had so many problems throughout the year where there's been issues. That team has been up and down. There's been times when they've been dominating, and there's other times when they've been a mess. And every time there's a mess, who's the center of that controversy all the time is Carl Anthony Towns. So I'm kind of curious. He's back. I don't know if he's 100%, but I think my thing is I think they're a better team without him. But we'll see.
Yeah.
I like the Suns in that series. They beat
They're
the Wolves.
favored.
Yeah, they beat the Wolves all three times, and Anthony Edwards only averaged 14 points per game against the Suns in those three games. And I think you finally got a healthy Bradley Beal back, so you've got their big three, and Grayson Allen had a great season for them.
Big contract.
What is that
Yeah,
contract they gave him? What is that?
I
It's
don't
a
know,
it's
man.
Clay
Wow.
Thompson contract.
You
Yeah,
know,
let
70 million
him have
over 4
4 rings.
years.
When he has his 4 rings, and he can get that money. He doesn't have 4 rings.
Yusef Nurkic has been very good for the Suns in the middle. And then Eric Gordon, who's I don't know, 35 years old. He's still hanging around and averages 11 a game and gives them 28 minutes. So they're going to score a lot of points. And I think, again, Timberwolves, I'm just not. I mean, I think when we talked early, when we did our NBA preview, I've never really trusted Karl Anthony Towns. He's had a really good season, but I think this is Anthony Edwards' team. But clearly.
Definitely.
But I think the Suns just have too much. I think these guys are finally hitting on all cylinders. And for a 6-3 matchup, I just think the Suns have the advantage. That's why I like the Clippers Mavericks series, the 4-5, because I think Luka Doncic is going to carry the Cavs or the Mavs
But
in that
every year
series.
in
He
the
averaged
playoffs, he's
34
another
against
guy.
them.
He's
What's
another
that?
guy every year in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Because
When defense, they really start playing defense, he seems to fade away.
And he isn't playing any defense. Then you have Mr. Flat Earth on that team, who's playing pretty well right now. But I don't trust that team at all. I don't trust that team.
Yeah.
Do you trust the Clippers though?
Yeah,
No.
that's true.
Well,
too.
if Kawhi's healthy, yes. And then you have playoff PG.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
the whole thing.
Yeah.
There's a lot of those guys. So the thing about the West right now, you pick every team. There's going to be one person that has had playoff ups and downs. Lakers, okay, D'Angelo Russell, like he always seems to self-destruct. Booker on Phoenix, playoff PG, like these guys who
But don't you think, Brian, it's because they really defense becomes the focal point,
100%.
right? Like Booker, they're letting him shoot whenever he wants to shoot. They're not going to really pressure him during the regular season, and then all of a sudden, the playoffs come around and there's a guy in your face and a hand in your face with every shot that you take, or they make a decision, right? Okay, we're going to let KD get his points, but we're not going to let Booker, or we're not going to let KD get points, but and I just think it's literally like a different game in the playoffs because
and another thing too is they actually have to play defense in the playoffs, and they get tired out because they're not used to doing that. Right. Guys like Booker or Kyrie, they kind of skate through the regular season. They don't play that much defense. Right. Now I have to tell you, Durant does play defense, and I've always that's one thing about him that people don't ever usually realize. I mean, he's been borderline all defensive team a couple of times. When he really wants to lock down, he can lock down.
Yeah.
But I can't say that of Booker. I can't say that of playoff PG. Those same guys. Now, another statistic that I always like to look at when I'm looking through, the scoring stuff. I compare a player's scoring average in the playoffs versus in the regular season, because in my opinion, a great player picks it up a little bit in the playoffs, which is why, to me, Brunson, and we haven't talked to the Knicks, and again, we'll probably should talk deeper on the Knicks, but why I think Brunson is such a clutch guy is because you look at his playoff scoring versus regular season, much higher, much higher. That's pretty cool. That's good. That's good. That's wild.
Yeah.
But that's a good stat to look at, guys. When you look at that, because you figure, yes, it's harder. The defense is tougher, but who comes to play, right? And that's the part where, like, look at Michael Jordan's playoff scoring. Look at Rick Barry's playoff scoring. I was looking at some of these things. The guys who had the biggest difference from the regular season to playoffs. Those are the guys who are winners.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting, and I don't want to dive into the East yet, but because Brunson last year could score more with Randall on the floor, but this year they're going to just get the ball out of his hands, right? It's going to be like, look, everybody else on the Knicks beat us. That would be my defense, right? Like, everybody else on the Knicks beat us, but we're not going to let Jalen Brunson beat us. So I think if he gets too close to his average, but the assists go up because he's getting double teamed, I think that's where you're going to see Knicks victories. But if he tries to do it on his own against double teams and triple teams, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, they don't have they don't have that second person.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's go. I'm sorry. Yeah, I did regress from the West, but
no, that's okay.
So Mike, who do you think? Mike, you start first. Who's coming out of the West? Two teams.
Well, Brian,
two teams. You don't have to pick one. Two teams.
Well, during our NBA preview, I took a flyer on the Warriors, so I had Warriors Nuggets as my two teams in the West. So one of them's already gone, kind of like like my Kentucky pick going to the Final Four and losing.
Oh yeah, but you're allowed to repick now. So.
So I get a mulligan on that. So definitely the Nuggets, and let's see. Well, I can't say the Suns because that's the 6-3 matchup, and Nuggets are the the 2. So, you know what? I'm gonna go Nuggets and the Mavericks. I'm gonna go with the Mavs. I think Luka Doncic is gonna come through. I'm not a Kyrie fan, as we all know, but Doncic averaged around 30 a game this year, and his actually you were talking about players that pick up their stats in the postseason and in 28 playoff games. Luka does average 33 a game, 9 rebounds, 7 assists. So he brings the stats offensively. To your point, he's not a great defender.
Well, his plus
Um,
minus goes
yeah, and
way
then
up
you
too.
have
Yeah,
obviously
yeah.
Kyrie Irving, not known as a great defender, but they do have Derek Lively the second, who's a really good rim protector. He's been very good for them. So I'll take a flyer on the Mavericks to beat the Clippers and then to upset the Thunder potentially if the Thunder get beyond the Kings or the Pelicans, which I think the Thunder would take care of the Pelicans pretty comfortably, but I think the Kings would be a tricky matchup for them. So I'll take the Nuggets and the Mavericks in the West.
Mm. I,
Go ahead, Alex.
I, I'm going to go on the bottom half of the bracket. I'm going to say it's the Timberwolves or the Nuggets come out of the
Okay.
West. And I had picked Nuggets Celtics for the finals, and I think it's going to be there. I think the NBA is very cyclical, right? Like you get teams that are finally built, they have a good coach, they understand the system, and they win for multiple years, or win multiple times over a number of years. Like, the Spurs winning every other year, the Celtics, the Lakers in the 80s, the Bulls in the 90s. I think you get these teams that go on runs, and I think that's going to be the Nuggets. But I think if there's another team, and just because I like Anthony Edwards so much, I'm going to take the Timberwolves as the other team to possibly upset the Nuggets and then ultimately come out of the West.
That's interesting. So, yeah, I'm saying Nuggets and Thunder. I like the Thunder. I really,
Yeah.
again, I'm kind of, I just they have home field advantage. That's a tough place to go in and win. The Nuggets will beat them though in the 7 games. That's not even going to be a toss up unless somebody gets hurt. Now that whole thing is like anybody could get hurt. Like the last couple of days, people getting hurt like left and right.
Yeah.
So all of our picks could be lost. But I'm going to say
What happened
Nuggets
to
and
all the
Thunder.
load management so guys didn't get hurt? I mean, so many stars are hurt,
What a
right?
waste! What a waste that
I mean,
is.
the whole East is hurt except for the
Yeah.
Celtics.
What a
Hey,
waste.
hey, was anybody surprised that the Lakers beat the Pelicans? I thought they might tank that game to avoid the Nuggets.
Yeah.
Well, so did I.
Yeah.
So did I.
Right?
But they,
Yeah.
I was thinking, oh, LeBron's gonna roll his ankle in the first quarter. AD's gonna poke himself in the eye. Oh, sorry.
well, and
My
second
guy's
of all, no one wants to go play in Denver with the altitude stuff. No one wants to
no.
go there. Like that's another whole piece to the puzzle. It's tough to go there especially on a 7 game series, having to go back and forth with that altitude. It's tough.
But
Very
there
tough.
are some
What,
good young teams there in the West. Thunder
Yeah.
Thunder are young. The Wolves are young. Kings are young. Pelicans
Mike,
have some young.
Mike, if the Lakers rolled over, is that known as the Jonte Porter now?
Oh.
That's
I,
yeah.
I
We
honestly expected the Lakers to lose that game. I really did. I thought they'd fall behind by 20, and
You thought they were going to Jonte it?
I
yeah
totally did. That's
yeah.
a crazy story too.
Yeah.
But I that is but we something we talk about that could possibly happen
Talked
this
about the
year.
gambling. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
look
a
here,
million times.
it's terrible.
It's not going away.
No.
No, and it's
Only
gonna
going to
This
get
get
is
worse.
not going away.
And
Yeah.
it's gonna get worse.
Yeah.
Now he's a bum, and that they figured that no one would notice that. It's gonna happen again, guys. It might have
That's
happened. We just don't
everything.
know.
Oh, I
Yeah.
mean, look, cheating is rampant in all sports now. And you know why? Because they don't do anything, right? Houston Astros cheated. Red Sox cheated. Michigan football cheated. There was another one. It's like all these teams that are winning now, it's like you're just, there's cheating involved. And with gambling and cheating, man, something bad is going to happen. Something really bad is going to happen, but the leagues are making so much money, they don't care. Really is what it
They've
comes
No.
got gambling sponsors on the courts, right?
Yeah.
DraftKings logos on the courts, in-game betting. I mean, you can
Yeah.
bet on the game
Yeah, in
from beginning
Philadelphia,
to end.
I know in Philadelphia in the arena you can bet right in there.
I think
So,
most of the arenas have that. I heard
yeah.
it's gotten way
I
too
think it's
easy.
terrible.
The
Terrible.
the whole Shohei Otani thing. I mean,
Well, that's another whole situation there.
it should.
I'm telling you right now, we're not going to know this, but he knows what was going on and he was probably involved. But they're not going to do that because they just don't want to tarnish the sport right now because that would be
Yeah.
that would destroy that sport right now if they found out that was true.
Yeah.
I have a
But
feeling it was a big cover up, and even with the NBA, the fact that he is Porter the only guy that it happened to, I don't think so.
Only guy
And
that
I have
got
a feeling
caught.
when they did it, they found out the other people too, but they're trying to, clean it up behind the scenes.
well, his brother's in the NBA, right?
Yeah.
He's
Yep.
Michael Porter's brother.
Porter Jr. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. There you go.
Anyway,
So what about the East, Alex? Why don't you go first? But talk about the East.
so to me, it's the the yellow brick road for the Celtics here because every team is hurt. Every star on every team
You're
is
trying to
hurt
put some kind of
that they have to
voodoo
get
on
through.
them.
Come on, Giannis is out. Randall's out. Joel Embiid can't run up and down the court 3 times without leaning over and gasping for air. So I really think this is set up for the Celtics this year. I had picked them from the beginning, and I think that it will end up that way. I think if the Knicks get past the Sixers, then it's going to come down to the Knicks and the Celtics. And I think the Knicks can beat the Sixers just because I think Joel is not in shape. And, the game the other night, he was like, there were trips down the court where a guy was looking to ISO with him and he just basically stood on the side with his hands on his knees, like, I'm taking this offensive series out. So I think if the Knicks jump on him early and win the first 2 games, I think that series is essentially over. I think the Pacers will beat the Bucks because Giannis is not playing. And I think the Pacers are young and hungry and they're on the come. So I think they'll do well. And I had the Magic at the beginning of the year picked as my rising team. So I'm going to pick them to beat the Cavaliers. But the Celtics are they're the juggernaut this year. And, 64 wins, cream of the league this year. And I attribute it all to KP.
Oh, yeah. So I think it's interesting you said this. I really like the Magic. I have seen the Magic a couple
3
of times
you
this
said,
year.
right?
Yes,
Yeah.
live. I mean,
They are good.
I've had the chance to travel for business, and and I have a friend who gets tickets, and so I'm like, hey, I'm gonna go. Of course, I'm gonna go to a game. If you give me a free ticket, I'm gonna go.
Right.
Great arena, great crowd, very
Great
well.
star, right?
Yeah.
Paulo Banchero's great
Yeah.
star.
And both Wagner brothers.
Wagner and Jalen Suggs. It's a really good team.
Marcel Fultz, I like Fultz, even though I think he got a bad rap and he was dealt with badly. But he's a lockdown defender. I like that team. They throw a lot of guys at you, and they're gonna keep it. They're very active. They play good D. They're very well coached. They had a chance about a week and a half ago, maybe right before, that's how close the East was. They could have moved up to the number 2 seed. There was a chance they could have done that, but it didn't happen. So I'm looking at I like again. Obviously, the Celtics are stacked, and if they don't win, it's their own fault. That's how I look at that.
It's Kristaps Porzingis' fault if they don't win.
The kiss of death listening to you guys talk up the Celtics. I hate you both.
Talk about injuries waiting to happen.
And KP is.
So sadly, the Knicks did trade. What's the guy who had 50 points? I'm drawing a blank right now. Who scored 50 points?
Oh, Malachi
Flynn.
Malachi Flynn. Yes,
off the bench. The bench. No.
So you think that the Knicks had him now? They would be a favorite. They would, because they lost a 50-point score.
No,
they gave him away for nothing.
A 50-point score. He scored 50 points once,
and then he scored 4 the next night or something.
Even a blind squirrel finds a nut, Brian.
Well, what did Pritchard have the last game of the season for the Celtics?
What's that?
Didn't
He
Pritchard...
had like 38 or 40. Yeah, he went off. No, nobody played for them in that game. Derek White was the only starter that played for the Celtics in that game, and I think he played about 15 minutes. No Tatum, no Brown, no KP, no Al Horford. Even they just
Yeah.
rolled out all of the
Well,
guys off.
and this is Al Horford's last chance. If he doesn't win this year, this is it for him. I can't see he's got to drink a big bottle of Geritol, get out there and play. Um, I, I I think the Celtics are the cream of the crop there. I don't see anybody. I don't think though. Here's the deal. I don't think they want to. If the Knicks are healthy, and I'm not going to talk about Randall. Randall's out of the equation. But if the rest of the Knicks are healthy, 7 game series against the Knicks are either the Celtics are going to lose the Knicks because they could. I could see them losing. I can't see them coming into the Garden and win any games. So it would just be, can the Knicks win a game in Boston? I don't know. But what it will do is it's going to wear the Celtics out either way. So if they lose to the Knicks, they're going to come out of there beat up and tired. So are they going to be able to go beat Denver? I don't know. That's the thing. That's what I really don't. I don't think they if Denver comes in healthy. So if we have to look at the health factor, right? So if you're talking about a healthy Denver team versus a healthy Celtic team in a 7 game series, my feeling is the Celtics would have a chance. But if they're beat up, and maybe the Denver gets through it pretty well without getting beat up, because the West is not that physical. Big difference in physicality too between the East and West. So I don't know. That to me, that'll be an interesting thing. Again, obviously, this is gonna be in June, so we're gonna be talking about this a couple times before this happens. But I really feel that health is gonna play a big factor in all this. But I don't think the Celtics want to face the Knicks. I think they would rather not face the Knicks. But if they do, either way, the Knicks could win, but also they're gonna get beat up. So I'll say that right now.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, Brian. I mean, I think the physicality in the East this year is really cranked up, and it could be whistles that turn a game for somebody if a player gets in foul trouble early, that could really turn a game. But I'm trying to think. I was watching the game last night, the Heat and Sixers. Who was the Sixer? Pinot or something? He kept them in the game.
Wasn't
What the
it
heck was his name?
Nicholas Batum?
Batum. Yeah,
Batum, yeah, he's like,
Nicholas Batum, that guy from
Batum.
France.
Dude,
oh yeah, he was going off in that game, Brian.
20 points.
Yeah,
He basically kept them in the
yeah.
game.
Yeah, they were getting blown out, and he's just standing out at the 3-point line at the elbow. He doesn't even jump when he shoots.
No.
He looks like an old man at the Y, and he was raining threes to keep them in the game. He kept
Yeah.
them close in the first
He
half.
literally did. He
The third
carried them.
quarter. Yeah, huge.
He had 20 points, Embiid had 23,
Yeah,
and Maxey had 19. So he was
Maxey
the
didn't
second
shoot the
leading
ball well.
scorer.
Yeah, Maxey
yeah.
shot terribly from the floor in that game.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and the Sixers have Kelly Oubre Jr., who
Mhm.
has always been. He's interesting. He's an interesting player because he always plays good D. He always rebounds. You never know what you're going to get scoring wise from him. They have Kyle Lowry, who's kind of old, and he's
Kind of old.
He doesn't do anything anymore.
I think he
Yeah.
went to college right around the same time as me. And then but they also have Mo Bamba, who never plays. They have
Tobias Harris.
DeAndre Melton, who I thought was going to be okay. He's for the
Yeah.
playoffs, but he hasn't been playing.
Buddy Hield.
Buddy Hield, who I never liked. Buddy Hield, I liked him in
Yeah.
college. I don't like him as a pro.
I don't like Tobias Harris.
They
at
have
all.
Cameron Payne too, who I do like, and he's had some playoff experience. So they're not I love Maxey.
Mhm.
I don't. Tobias Harris is not a big three. They always used to say big three. Well, he had 10 rebounds last night, but they always say big three. Tobias Harris. He's not though. I don't think he is.
No, he's a great role player, and I just think they go as Joel goes. Tyrese Maxey's the second best player on the team, but I think if Joel has a great series against against the Knicks, then they'll be in it. And if he plays poorly, they have no chance. I think the Knicks will just run him out of the building.
Tyler Hero was 9 for 27 last night.
Yeah.
Like, come on now. 9 for 27. Why does he keep jacking up shots? I never understand how that happens when a guy just keeps jacking up shots after they're 9
Jaquez
for,
kept
they're
them in
9
the
for
game.
26. Should I take
love that
another one?
guy.
Yeah.
I love Hawkins.
He kept so basically after Jimmy Butler got hurt. Jimmy Butler played 40 minutes last night, After he got hurt, Jaquez was just literally up and down the court like a madman, rebounding, scoring, playing defense. It was like every time you were looking at the ball, he was on the ball, and he played a great game. Tyler Hero, ended up with 25 points, played very, very well, but the X factor last night was Jaquez for the Heat. And if they
Yeah,
were going to win, I think it was going to be because of him. But
yeah. Bam didn't show up. He only had 10 points.
no, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I was shocked that the Sixers won, but they do have they had the best person on the court. Whether or
And
not Embiid is healthy, he's still the best player on the court.
yeah, and when they're healthy, the Sixers are very good. I mean,
Yeah.
they should probably been the 2 seed if they were healthy all
And
year
Nick
long.
Batum had 20 points.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
a
mean,
great
yeah,
game.
it was crazy. It was
I'm
crazy.
just looking. I think his high for the year was 19. He has 20 in the playoffs. He has 20
20 in
points.
the playoffs.
Shocking, shocking.
Yeah,
Scored
That he was
more
not
points
he
than
was
years
not
ago.
on the Heat's game plan. I mean, that's you
Scouting
know,
report.
yeah.
yeah,
And so the other thing too is I'm also like the Bulls to me. Again, I knew the Bulls were going to beat the Hawks. I never thought in any way the Hawks were going to win that game. But the Bulls 42 points from White.
I
Kobe,
like Kobe
like
White. I've always
yeah,
liked him. He's a good player.
42 points. Um, very very interesting of it.
but isn't that like eye opening? They're doing play-in games. The Hawks were 36-46. They're
Yeah.
10 games under 500, and they're playing in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know.
I mean, I know it would be hard to do, but can you at least be over 500 to make the play-in game?
Yeah,
The
because
East had 3 teams that were under 500
the
that made the
Warriors were, I
play-in.
think, 46-36, right? Playing in
Yeah,
that
they were
playoff.
10 games over.
Yeah.
And
The
they were like
20 game difference
they were 10
between
and 2 over the last 12. The Warriors are 10 and 2 over the last 12 games, and they still were 10 seed,
Yeah.
yeah.
which
Yeah.
is crazy. But yeah, but hey, again, I'm just they piss me off so much. Okay,
Yeah.
let's. I am really be rooting super hard for the Knicks. I'm putting all my efforts into, I really want to see the Knicks play well. I want to see the Knicks win. I think it's just good for New York. It's good for New York sports.
I'll be there Monday night.
You are going to go Monday night?
Yeah, we're going
Nice.
up Monday night. Brendan and I
That's
are going up
awesome.
Monday night.
Yeah, that's good. So go to that. Yeah.
And Brendan
And,
gave me a stat to throw out tonight. The Sixers have never scored over 100 points on the Knicks this season.
Wow.
Okay.
There you go.
Knicks were, 3-1 against the Sixers this year?
I didn't look that. I
I
think so.
Embiid only played in one of the games. Yeah.
The one they won.
I think Embiid is a little bit too dinged up. He just doesn't look himself, and
No.
I really hope he doesn't do himself any long-term damage because he's such a good player and has gotten so much better. I think the Knicks are just too good for them, and I have to say when it comes to the Knicks, because Brian, you were saying earlier, Jokic is the MVP and how much he makes the team better. And I know that there are a few candidates that they talk about for MVP: Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, Luka Doncic. I think the second most valuable player in the NBA, and it pains me a tiny bit to say this because he's a Knick and I'm a Celtics fan, but I think Jalen Brunson has been
Oh,
phenomenal.
yeah. But he's not getting. The thing is that no one's giving him that love.
If
And
you
he
took
really
him
deserves.
away from the
It's
Knicks,
so
how
sad.
bad would they be?
No, I know.
They'd be the Knicks.
And
the Knicks of the last 20 years.
But the way he plays, I think he's a guy that elevates everybody's level of play. When we talk
And
about
that's how he was in college too. You think
Yeah.
about this. You think about this in college. He was kind of small. He wasn't a flashy guy. He had other people on his team that were considered higher recruits than him, but he won Player of the Year, right, one year,
yeah,
and he was the leader of that team. Come to the pros, no one thought anything of him. They, what was he going to do? Um, the other guys got drafted higher than him, right? And now
He was
he's
on the
better
bench for the Mavericks.
second
on the
round
bench,
pick.
yeah. And because of his height, that is more because of his size. But something, he plays bigger than he is. He's smart, very well coached. Obviously, everybody who came out of Villanova is very well coached. That's one thing you have to say about him is, he made sure that these guys knew what they were doing and knew how to play the game of basketball, because all of them are they don't just shoot. They know they can do other things. They can play defense. They can rebound. They can pass. They know how to play the game. Hart, DiVincenzo, they all can do that. Even Bridges is on the Nets. I think he's lost in the Nets. The Knicks have to find a way to get him next year. Bring that whole gang together. Um, but because those guys and they play so well with each other because they grew up together. They learned they learned the sport of basketball together, and that's the biggest thing about Thibodeau. Thibodeau is a great coach, and he is going to do his best. He's not going to be outcoached. Is he going to have the players? I don't know, but he's not going to be outcoached. As well as I do. He's sitting up all night trying to figure out a way to exploit the Sixers in some way or fashion. He is doing that right now,
Yeah,
and
and I
I
think
love him.
the Knicks have a huge advantage with Hartenstein and Mitch Robinson being back
Yes,
because they have two big bodies that can pound Joel, all basically for 48 minutes, and Josh Hart will just pester and pester and pester. So I think Joel's in for a, a beating on the offensive side. So we'll see.
Yeah,
yeah,
this team really embodies what Tom Thibodeau does. So
Right.
gritty. They're just tough on the defensive end. They make it hard for you to score. I think they're going to do that to the Sixers. And I have to give credit to a guy that I've never been a fan of, but I think Dante DiVincenzo's had a fantastic year.
Yeah.
I mean, and he's gotten better over the course of the season too. I feel like when I was watching him early in the season, he would take a jump shot or a three, and I would think, oh, that's not going in, and it wouldn't go in. And he's gotten so much better, and he's playing with such a high level of confidence. Like he's averaging 15 and a half points a game. That's incredible. I mean,
Yeah,
you've
I mean,
got,
I think they asked him to pick up the load, like they
yeah.
went to a couple guys and he was one of them and said, "Look, Randall's out.
Mm-hmm.
We're out 25 points a game, 27 points a game. We need you to score." And he did.
well,
He did.
interesting enough, the year the Bucks won the championship, he was the starting guard until he got hurt. He got hurt right in
Yeah.
the first round of the playoffs, or right before the playoffs
Mm-hmm.
started. He was their starting guard. So then he got hurt and he was bad and he got traded. Last year with the Warriors, he was really good. I thought
Yeah.
he was getting
He's a
back
really
to the
good
way he
defensive
was.
player, right, Brian?
Yeah, excellent
Yeah.
defensive player. The Warriors should have. I mean, Steph Curry says this all the time that they were so sad that they couldn't get him back because first of all they all got along very well with him and he practiced with them a lot over the summer. They really wanted him back, but they couldn't afford him, and that was a tough thing because they didn't have that guy off the bench. With the Knicks, he's he's with his people he's familiar with, right there. Brunson gives him the ball where he needs it. You
Yeah.
can't think enough about that. It's just so big. It's so big. Now I love watching them together. I used to as well as I do. I used to go to a lot of Villanova games because of my friend Wayne always had tickets and we go and I got to like them. I love those guys. I think they're great. I love seeing them do well in the pros. I'm glad you're going to the game, Alex. That's good because that garden's going to be rocking.
Yeah.
I'm trying. I have one person I'm trying to who's working on tickets for me. So if I'm going to go, I'll let you know.
Yeah.
But
Let me know. We're going Monday.
okay. Um, but yeah, that place is going to be rocking. It's great. There's nothing better than the Garden for playoffs basketball or hockey or hockey. I mean, the Garden is the mecca, and that's going to be great. So that's going to be rocking. Let's see what happens. Um, I love to see them pull this off and do something that no one expects. It's sad because you kind of wish Randall was there because if they're going to do it this year, you want everybody there. But let's see what happens. They have enough. They have enough, especially with the other injuries that are going on. The Celtics have been very healthy, so I don't want to jinx them, Mike. I'm sorry, but they're
Please
due for
don't.
an injury. They're due for an injury.
Could have a really interesting second round series because I agree with Alex. I think the Pacers, even if Giannis was there, I think I would have taken the Pacers. Pacers beat them 4 to 5 times this season. The Pacers are good, and I think they were my up and coming team for this season, and they played very well. Halliburton's a star, so you could have a really interesting Eastern Conference semifinal between the Pacers and the Knicks, and you've got Tyrese Halliburton going up against Jalen Brunson, which would be great, and it would be reminiscent of all those battles that the Knicks and the Pacers had back in
Yeah. In the
Reggie
90s.
Miller's heyday.
Yeah.
And I also agree that I think the Magic are going to beat the Cavaliers. Really good young team. And then Magic and the Celtics in the second round. Magic are a really physical team, and that's where the Celtics tend to struggle. So I know you're both saying Celtics have this yellow brick road to the finals, but Magic would give them a series. I think physically they get to the foul line a lot. They played 3 times. None of the games mean anything. They were all before the new year. But I think Celtics Magic could be an interesting series, and then I think it's going to be Celtics and Knicks, which would be a great battle. I mean, that would be just great for the NBA if the Celtics and Knicks play in the Eastern Conference Finals. Boston, games in the Garden. That'd be tremendous. That'd be a tremendous Eastern Conference Final.
Yeah, plus the networks would love it, right?
Oh
I mean, the
man,
NBA would
right?
love it. The
Wow,
networks would
Boston
love
and
it.
New York.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, totally, it'd be
Yeah.
awesome.
Amazing.
Now it'd be some if the finals are Indiana and Denver, that would no. But wait,
It
what
could
that would mean?
happen.
That would mean two original ABA teams in the
Uh,
finals. I don't think that's ever happened before.
that's an interesting thing
It's
to look up.
yeah, because I don't think that's ever happened before. Because the only the Spurs, the Nets, Denver, Pacers, the only four remaining ABA teams.
Spurs played the Nets in the finals back in the day, right?
Yeah, yeah,
They did? Okay.
yeah. The Spurs. I think the Spurs swept them too, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. So then that's the Spurs played the Nets, or the Spurs played the Knicks.
they've
Oh,
beaten
the
them
Spurs.
both.
They beat them both.
Yeah.
Okay, you're right. There you go. Okay.
It was the
Yeah.
Richard Jefferson, Jason Kidd team, I believe.
Yeah. There's been a lot of ABA news lately. I've been seeing. There's a lot of they're bringing back a lot of the they're trying to bring back a lot of the fun that the ABA had, and I've just seen a lot of ABA news recently about some of the old players, and it's been very interesting. I mean that's a great thing.
All the
Now,
fun's going to be in the WNBA next year,
oh, you know that. I know.
right?
I know.
I mean, they are on the rise, and
The first Caitlin's first game in the Garden's gonna be totally sold out. You know that.
yeah, yeah.
What did you guys think about the women's NCAA Final Four? I thought it was a lot of fun. I mean, yeah, I wanted Caitlin Clark to
Mhm.
win, but I don't think she had enough on her team. That she didn't have as
Yeah.
much firepower to help. She played great. I don't think it was her, but that was tough. It was tough to go and play, but the first game of the Final Four, I thought that was just great. It was just it was great TV, much better than the men's, guys. I'm sorry, it was way better than the men's.
Yeah,
The UConn Iowa game.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was
yeah.
a good game. You have Paige Beckers, who was National Player of the Year as a freshman against Caitlin Clark. That was a great game, and UConn was decimated by injuries this year.
yeah,
Mazzy Fudd was out. I mean, they were pretty.
they had
depleted.
7 players, I think. They
Yeah,
had
so
7
making it to the
players.
Final Four, I think it was lost on a lot of fans.
Yeah, Gino
Really
Ariemo
expected.
said this was his hardest year
Yeah, which
coaching. Yeah,
they've been to the Final Four so many years with all these loaded teams, and I thought it was a great accomplishment for them to get to the Final Four this year with such a limited roster. But yeah, I agree. Caitlin Clark just didn't have enough support to get through a fantastic South Carolina team. I mean, that is and the South Carolina achievement was incredible. They had what four? They lost what 4 of their starters or all 5 starters from
all
last year's
5.
team,
Yeah,
and they
but
come back this year and go undefeated and win it.
Yeah,
but
That's
weren't they all transfers in? Like I think a bunch of players transferred in.
probably. I mean, that's
Yeah,
the climate we're in, right? Where
yeah,
everyone,
which is terrible.
which
No,
is
I hate that.
the NCAA went the other way so quickly and so poorly that players just
But I
transfer.
don't think it was their choice, right? Like the courts ruled people
Yeah,
can get
no.
paid.
Now they're taking
What could
advantage of
they
it.
do? You know?
There's got to be some sort of limit on how many times you can transfer, though. They just leave year after year because I feel like there was someone from the men's Final Four, like players started transferring right after the Final Four. Players that made it to there were players that left Alabama. Players are leaving
Yeah.
Alabama. They
Yeah.
made it to the Final Four.
Well, that's why like my favorite part of the men's final, I mean NCAAs, was seeing Calipari walk off the court, and then I also couldn't wait to see the LSU coach. I can't stand her.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of her at all. I just don't like the way she coaches and the way she is. She's just bad. But obviously, You know,
Well, there
she
too,
wins.
a lot of players transferred out of there. It's like it's like the Fab Five, right? Like, oh, the best players going here. I want to play with the best players, so they all go there. And it's going to be tough. It'll work itself out, I'm sure. But I think it was Matt Rule, the football coach at Nebraska, said recruiting's totally different now. It's pretty easy. The recruits ask you two questions, or the transfer portal people ask you two questions.
How much?
Am I going to start, and how much money do you have to pay me?
Yeah.
He's like, that's it. What's your NIL budget for me? And he said, that's just the way that recruiting is now. It's not about being a coach and talking to the parents and explaining what your system is. And I mean, that was criminal too. The coach is making all the money and the kids getting nothing. But there's
Yeah.
got to be some parity somewhere in it.
No, there has to be something in between. But
What do you think about this? There's a pool of money, right? So let's just say the NCAA or somebody tracks the pool of money, and based on your sport, everybody in that sport makes the same amount of money. That's your payment, right? So if you're the quarterback or you're the walk-on receiver, everybody gets $60,000 or $50,000, whatever that number is. And then for football, and then maybe for baseball, it's 20,000, and for basketball, maybe it's 30,000. But that's it. That's the money you get. So you kind of, while they still get paid, you kind of take the money equation out of the game. And I realize some of these players are making millions of dollars, so
Yeah.
I'm not sure they would ever agree to it, but
Socialism.
but it would be fairer, right? Because then it's more about, hey, we're making this much money in sports total, and that gets divided evenly across everybody. And I don't just mean like at a particular school, like, oh, UConn made, 50 million, and Iowa only made 10 million. No, then that's 60 million, and that 60 million gets divided up. So it's almost like this giant pool of money that you
so it doesn't
divide up
matter where you
across
go. It
every
doesn't
school.
matter where you go. So that way people equal up.
Yeah, if you're playing a Division I sport and you make it, you get this pool of money. But then it takes all the the NIL people just wouldn't donate the money, but
Yeah, all those boosters. Yeah.
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 Or they would, but they would do it surreptitiously
No,
instead.
it's so weird. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't
I don't know
Yeah,
how you're
they would do that, Alex, and then everything would go underground again.
Right.
I don't know how you're gonna fix it right now.
I just heard this like a month ago. I didn't realize John Wooden was paying players. He wasn't, but there was a guy paying players
No,
for
there
John
was.
Wooden to go to
Yeah,
UCLA.
there was.
Yeah.
So here's two really quick things before we wrap it up here. One, I've seen a lot of chatter, and I know Charles Barkley and Shaq have been really, really, really going at it. But they did a little segment where they showed like the top 10 plays where LeBron James fakes getting hit,
Yeah.
and I just can't believe that. I look at this and I'm like, how does this guy get away with that? And again, LeBron's LeBron. He's one of the greatest players of all time. I give him that, and you're never going to take that away from him because he is great. But I didn't think he was as bad as I know James Harden's always been bad because he flips his head back and fakes it. Like it fakes like he's getting hit all the time. But I think LeBron is worse. And they even showed back in the days when he was on the Heat, which I never really paid attention to that.
He grew up in
So
that, unfortunately.
does that tarnish his image? My question to you is, does that tarnish his image?
My answer to that is the best player in the NBA shouldn't be doing that.
Right. I agree.
Okay.
Leave that to Bill Cartwright.
Vlade Divac.
Vlade Divac. Yeah, all those guys. But the best player shouldn't be doing it. But he grew up in that, right? Like, that's how you got fouls called, was, you exaggerated every play. And, it's like watching the Premier League, but
It's terrible. I didn't think he was as bad, and then he is. He's
Draymond's pretty bad too.
Yeah, but he doesn't get these. What does he take? 3 foul shots a game. Like, the problem is the Lakers disparity of Lakers versus the rest of the league. I posted this recently in our Facebook page, listeners, But the disparity from the Lakers versus the rest of the league in free throws over the last year or so, it's outrageous compared to all the other teams. So they're all doing it. I don't know. It's just kind of okay. And the last question I have, guys, is I know we're going at close to an hour here to an episode. Where were you guys during the earthquake, the big earthquake of New Jersey? Where were you guys? Mike, why don't you go first?
I was sitting at my desk at work on a call, and all of a sudden my house started shaking side to side. And I've never experienced an earthquake, so part of my brain said earthquake. The other part of my brain said, what the hell was that? Because we don't get earthquakes in New Jersey. And so I ran downstairs and asked Isabel, my wife, um, was that an earthquake or is the washing machine shaking the entire house? Because I was like, it can't be an earthquake. And then I come upstairs and I have like texts from neighbors saying, what the hell was that? Was that an earthquake? And then all of the articles, like immediately it was all over the news. It was just bizarre, like an earthquake in New Jersey. I did not feel the aftershock. I guess there was an aftershock around 5 p.m.
Yeah, I
Friday
felt that
afternoon. I
too.
didn't feel that. Quinn said he
Yeah.
saw his fan, the fan in his room kind of shaking, the ceiling fan.
Yeah, I didn't feel the
experience that.
aftershock either. Yeah.
I was at home, and it wasn't just the shaking. I mean, my house was shaking. It was the noise. I
Yeah,
mean,
that's
it
right.
was
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
it was like a cement truck was driving
It's
through my
exactly what I
house.
It
thought.
was weird,
Right?
right? Yeah, it was like a truck rumbling down the street
Yeah,
somewhere,
Yeah.
there are
shaking the
12
house.
trucks driving down my road. I thought,
Yeah.
like,
It was very loud, and my house shook. And then I was lying on the couch in the afternoon, and all of a sudden I see my whole back wall of my house shaking, and that was the aftershock. So I had felt that one, but very strange. I had been in another one in New York back in, I don't know when it was, 2010 maybe.
Hmm.
I was at Pfizer and up in a skyscraper, and I forget what floor we were on, but we were up pretty high. And I was in a cube there, and I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden everything starts moving back and forth. So that was the other earthquake I was in, but I'd never been in California. But how about you, Bryan?
yeah, I'd been out in San Francisco and I felt it. I worked at one time in San Francisco for like 3 months. San Bruno, which is right next to San Francisco. Yeah, and I felt them all the time. And people were like, I was freaking out. People go like, "Oh, it's nothing." I'm like, "What do you mean? This is crazy." But yeah, that day, the day of the New Jersey earthquake, I was on a Teams call with somebody, and I'm like, "Hey, we're getting an earthquake." Because first I thought it was like, wow, there's a lot of construction trucks going up and down the street, right? And then I'm like, wait a second, that's not what that is. And I said, hey, and the lady I was on the phone with, she goes, come on, you're joking. And all of a sudden she goes, wait, I'm feeling it now too. Holy
Oh
goodness.
my gosh.
And let's get off the line. Let's get off the line. Fine. And it was crazy. It was crazy. I was shocked. I did not feel the aftershock, but my friend Bobby, who lives like 3 blocks away, he said the aftershock was worse than the original one. I didn't feel it.
Yeah,
Same. Yeah.
yeah.
So that's, again,
And the eclipse, it's all
oh, the
coming.
eclipse, all at the same time. The eclipse, yeah, it was
Get a
crazy.
tornado running
OJ.
down my street tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, it's
No.
all these crazy. Yeah, I was in Florida for the eclipse. I didn't really see much. It was a little cloudy that day. I don't know how it was here, but I didn't really see it that much. I tried.
We were up in Vermont. It was 98.2 up there, and even that, it was still fairly light out at 98.2, but it was cool to see.
Yeah, it was cool. Very cool thing. And they were right next to each other. It's just like weird. Was there a reason why? Did the eclipse cause the earthquake? Who knows? We'll never know these things. We'll never know. But that's great. All great stuff. I think this is a great episode. Let's see what happens in the NBA. I'm looking forward to the NBA playoffs. Every year it's great. We'll see what happens. I think go Knicks, go Celtics from this podcast here. I think
NBA draft is coming up in a
NBA
week.
draft is coming.
I mean, NFL draft, not
Yeah.
NFL draft.
NBA draft.
We'll have to preview that too.
Yeah.
NFL draft. That's another big one here. Let's see what bad moves the Jets will make.
Did you see those Jets hats?
No.
You know the Jets logo with kind of like that jet line?
Well, they're doing the old Sack Exchange. They're going back to the Sack Exchange shirts.
Yeah, but the hat just has the line on it. It doesn't have the Jets on it or New York.
The line with the plane? The line of the
plane? Yes.
Oh, I don't know.
They have the other ones. They have it with New York, and they have it with the Jets. But yeah,
please not. Don't.
you got to look it up. It's pretty funny looking.
Oh no, I don't want to know this. I don't know. I don't need to know this. Oh, I don't need to know this.
All right.
Yeah, I'm gonna root for the Knicks. I'm also gonna be watching the Magic a lot. I think they're a fun team. I think I've kind of, since I've got to see them this year, I'm kind of starting to like them a little bit. But those are my teams I'm gonna root for. I'm not nobody out west. I kind of don't like anybody out west now because the Warriors lost.
Yeah.
Okay. Have a wonderful week, everybody. Take care.
Go Knicks.
Go Celtics.